Hello folks and welcome to this episode of the Potspoon Kitchen. In this episode I will be sharing 3 potato recipes with you. We are going to be making shepherd's pie. This shepherd's pie is so creamy, so good, and is always a big hit in my household. So I'm going to be sharing this recipe with you, and then we are going to move on to scalloped potatoes. This is my version of scalloped potatoes, and this recipe is going to be quite interesting. Next, we are going to be moving on to the classic fish pie. And if you love fish, any fish will work. It's creamy with loads and loads of flavor. To a pan on medium heat, you want to add a half of stick of butter, and you want to slowly melt the butter but not to burn the butter. Once the butter has melted, you want to start adding some onions, and in this recipe I am using 2 cups of diced white onions. You want to stir the onions into the butter and allow it to sweat before adding the carrots. I am using 1 cup of carrots. And what I am making here is a mirepoix, which is 2 part onion, 1 part carrot, and 1 part celery. So I am using 1 cup of celery. Once it has come together nicely and the aromas are beginning to blaze up your kitchen, you want to stop and you want to add some garlic to this. In this case, I am using 5 cloves of grated garlic. Mix the flavors in and allow everything to come together nicely, the aromas to change dimensions. And then I am going in with 1.5 kg of ground beef. This is medium ground beef because I am not looking for too much fat in this recipe. I am using a frying pan here, but I'm going to change later on to a deeper pot just because I underestimated the amount of ground beef that I was going to use. Once the beef is beginning to brown, you want to add 2 teaspoons of salt, and this is where you're going to start seasoning the beef. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of black pepper. If you have white pepper, you can use that as well. I am using 1 teaspoon of Goya Adobo. We're adding 1 cup of frozen green peas, 1 cup of corn kernels, and this is the corn kernels in the can. If you have frozen corn, that works fine as well. You want to turn this up and allow the beef to continue to brown, which should take about 7 to 8 minutes. Once the meat has browned, we're going in with some all-purpose flour, a third of a cup of all-purpose flour, or any flour should work. And this is going to be the thickening agent for our sauce to thicken up the shepherd's pie. After this, we're going to go in with 2 cups of beef broth. The beef broth is going to pair well with the beef because, as you can see, it's beef on beef. Stir it up into the liquid, and we're going to allow this to start thickening up. Once it has begun to thicken up, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of lemon juice, or you can use 1 teaspoon of lime juice. This consistency is beautiful. While the meat is cooling, let's get started on our potatoes. I am using 6 Yukon Gold potatoes, and this is going to give me about 6 to 8 cups. We're going to boil these in a lightly salted water. To a bowl, we're going to add 1 egg, and you'll also need 2 cups of grated cheddar cheese. So I am going to prepare all of that while the potatoes are boiling. Once the potatoes are done boiling, we're adding 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. We are adding our 2 cups of cheese. We are adding 1/4 cup of heavy cream, and if you don't have heavy cream, you can use whole milk or evaporated milk. We are going to season this with some dry parsley flakes, and in this case I'm using 1/2 teaspoon, and I'm adding the 1 egg, which is optional. You want to use a potato masher and begin to mash this, and you want to mash it smooth. I just love a really nice smooth shepherd's pie. So we are going to add some Parmesan to this, and this is a bottled Parmesan. And I just love Parmesan in my mashed potatoes as well in a shepherd's pie. It just gives the flavor a whole new dimension. And you want to mix this in. We are adding some Goya adobo. I am using quarter teaspoon of Goya adobo seasoning. And we want to mix this in. We are squeezing 2 cloves of garlic. And because I like a little kick to my mashed potatoes when I'm making shepherd's pie, I am adding a dash of hot sauce. Add it to your baking dish, and you're going to get about half of your baking dish. And this is a medium-sized baking dish. Smooth everything out. And now you want to add your potatoes and layer your potatoes on top of the sauce. If it's your first time here, welcome to the Potspoon kitchen. Help me to grow my channel by sharing, telling a friend to tell another friend to tell another friend. Smooth out the potatoes over the meat. And I can leave this here and just bake it, but I like to go a little bit further. So I am going to be using a cake comb. If you don't have a cake comb, use a fork. And you want to start adding some lines, a design. You can also use a piping bag and put the potatoes in, as you will see in the upcoming video. Just create a beautiful design and just be happy. So I'm going to add a little bit of Parmesan on top of this, because I love my shepherd's pie to have loads and layers of flavor. And to this I am adding a little bit of dried parsley flakes as a garnish. So we are going to bake this at 350 degrees Fahrenheit until it is nice and golden. Allow it to cool for about 45 minutes and enjoy. So up next we are going to be making a classic scalloped potatoes. For this recipe you will need 10 yellow potatoes, and I am cutting each potatoes into about 8 to 10 slices. You want to add this to a bowl, and we are going to season this with 1 teaspoon of salt, and we are going to fold this up with hot water to steep. While the potatoes are steeping in hot water, to a saucepan you want to add 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter on medium heat, and I'm using 1.5 cup of diced onions. You want to mix this and allow the onions to sweat in the butter and start creating the flavor profile of our scalloped potatoes. This is my preferred method because I don't like onions that are chunky in my scalloped potatoes. In another saucepan you're going to add 50 grams of butter and 50 grams of flour, and we are creating a white roux. Roux has 3 colors: blonde, brown, and white, and we're going to create a white roux. You don't want to get the flour too dark. If you can prevent the flour and the butter from cooking too dark, you are going to be perfect, because the blonde too far than this shall give you a very blonde roux and a blonde sauce. So we are adding 1000 ml of milk, and we are going to add this into 3 to 4 parts, and we are going to whisk this continuously and allow this to thicken up. You want to add some more, and then we're going to add some more again to this. The smoother and thicker it becomes, the more and the more I will add. So we have our onions, and the onions have been cooling. So we are going to add these to a blender, and we are going to add these with half cup of milk. This is going to give you a very smooth consistency like this. And now we're going to add this back to our sauce. And this right here has loads and loads and loads of flavor. Whisk this in, and now we're going to build on the flavor and the taste of our pie. So we're going to add 2 cloves of garlic, 1 tablespoon of chopped chives, 1 tablespoon of green onions chopped, And we're going to whisk this and allow the flavors to extract into the cream. Once the flavor has extracted into the cream and the flavors are beginning to burst in, we're adding half teaspoon of black pepper. You can use white pepper as well for this. Mix it in. And by this time it should be steaming. So we're going to add 2 cups of white cheddar once the sauce begins to thicken up. I'm also adding half cup of buttered Parmesan cheese. If you have fresh Parmesan cheese, Grana Padano, you can go right ahead and use it. Mix it in until the cheese has begun to dissolve. And now we're going to taste the salt, and then we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. The sauce is going to get thicker and thicker, but you want to make sure that you taste for salt before you add any salt to this. To our Pyrex dish, we have butter, and I've buttered this with a good amount of butter. And now we're going to start off by layering, and we're going to layer this as if we were layering a lasagna. So we are going to add the sauce at the base, and we're going to spread the sauce to make way for the potatoes. Let's add a layer of potatoes, just one thin layer, and we're going to add some mozzarella cheese for some depth, for some stretch, and for some flavor. The bottom is where I'm going to place most of the mozzarella cheese, because as we go up, I'm going to add less and less. So over this, we're going to drizzle some Parmesan cheese to make way for our sauce. Coat the cheese with the sauce so that it gets to flow in between the potatoes. And we are going to add some more mozzarella cheese to this, but this time we are adding less mozzarella cheese. Add some more potatoes to create one layer. And now we're going to add some more sauce. We're going to cover this over. Make sure that all in the creases have sauce. And we're going to finish off the top. For the top, I am using some Parmesan cheese. And I am also going to be using some white cheddar cheese. This cheese right here is sharp cheddar. Spread it all over the sauce to create a beautiful melt. We're going to garnish this with some chopped chives for some extra flavor at the top and for presentation. And we're going to be baking at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour and 30 minutes. And this is the final product. Allow it to cool for about 45 minutes so it doesn't get runny everywhere. And this is what we have. Next up, we are going to be making a classic fish pie. For today's recipe, we are going to be making a really amazing and soothing, comforting fish pie. In this bowl, I have sliced potatoes. These are Irish potatoes, 5 or 6 cups. Overall, it's about 8 large potatoes. I'm going to boil these thoroughly so that I can mash them into mashed potatoes. To begin the base of our fish pie, we have an array of ingredients. We have white fish. This is 2 cups of white fish that I diced. And the thing about fish pies is that you can use smoked fish, you could use white fish, you could add shrimp to it. We're not going to add any smoked fish to this, neither are we going to add shrimp. I'm going to add some really nice flavors to this to make this fish taste really, really amazing. We are going to use some milk, and we're going to poach our fish, and we're going to season it to make sure that it doesn't have any fishy taste. Let's head over to the pot. In this pot we have 1.5 cups of cream. I'll add some thyme to it. And we're just gonna give this a basic seasoning. Let's add 2 cloves of garlic and 1 tablespoon of powdered fish seasoning. And we're gonna give this a mix. At this stage, I'm not adding any salt. I just want to flavor the cream because white fish takes up flavors very easily, especially salt. We're gonna turn this off now because it's up to a boil, and I'm just gonna place the fish in just to have it half the way cooked and firmed up. Another reason why we are poaching the fish now is because if you use a raw fish, you place the fish in the dish and then you add the cream and the stuff over, the fish is going to release the liquid, and you don't want the fish to release the liquid after you have thickened up the sauce and everything, all the flavors are going. It's going to thin out your flavors and you won't have that impact that you want. So we're going to firm up the fish and have all the juices remain in the fish now. I'm now going to remove the fish and place it in a bowl and set it aside. And then I'm going to pour out the juices and we're going to begin making our roux. We have our fish poached and we have our liquids to add back to our base. We are now ready to build our sauce, and I'm going in with my butter, and I'm adding all the ingredient lists in the description box. This is on medium heat. Now I am adding 2 cups of chopped onions, and once they become translucent, I'm going to add the other ingredients. Now I can turn up my heat. Let's add our celery, 1 cup of celery, and we're going in with 1 cup of chopped carrots. This pie is similar to making a chicken pot pie, as mirepoix is the base of most sauces, especially American sauces. Let's allow this to break down for about 2 minutes. Now let's add our spinach. There are a lot of different styles of fish pies out there, but this is the way I like it. I'll do another video in the future using smoked fish, and if I'm going to make smoked fish pie, I would prefer to use the Caribbean style smoked fish. That's going to go really good with the salmon, especially smoked salmon. So once this is broken down, we're going to add our flour, and over there we have our potatoes boiling away. So now we're going to add our flour to this. And let's mix it in. And we're going to cook the flour for about 2 minutes. And at this stage, it doesn't really matter how long you cook the flour for because you're still going to bake this. But you just don't want to burn the flour to create any brown or blonde roux. Let's add our capers to this. And I'm using capers because it's going to replace the smoked salmon and smoked fish taste. And give it a nice, unique saltiness. And now let's go in back with our cream, and this cream has loads and loads of flavor. I'm going to scrape out all the seasonings, garlic and stuff in there, and now we're going to add salt and pepper to taste.
You want to taste it before you add much more salt because you already added all-purpose and the cream is already salted. You want to put enough that the fish has enough salt. I'm going to add some more salt and pepper. Sometimes I just prefer the white fish over the smoked fish because you could do so much with the flavor profile to replace the smokiness. Now let's add 1 cup of cheese to this, and this is cheddar cheese, and then we're going to thicken it up a little bit more and then we're going to remove it because when it goes into the oven it's going to get more thick. Some people add eggs over the fish pie, but today I'm not going to do that. I prefer eggs when it has smoked meat in it. So I'm going to allow this to thicken up. And let's pour out our base. Nice and creamy, just the way I like it. I'm just going to give it a little shake. Now let's add back our fish and distribute the fish over the base. I'm trying to avoid putting back any more liquid in there, so I'm just going to take out the fish. Distributing the fish so that every piece that you get some chunks of fish in there. Now let's finish our mashed potatoes. The potatoes are done and they are scorching hot. And I'm just going to go in with my butter. And again, all the ingredients is going to be down in the description box. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please click that subscription button and don't be afraid to drop a comment below and let me know what you think. All your comments and opinions are valued on the Potspoon kitchen. And give this video a share. The idea of the mashed potato for the fish pie is to mash it very smooth so that you don't have any chunks, because this is going to be a soft mashed potato. I'm not adding any salt as I salted the water for the potatoes to boil, and the base already has enough salt that would cover for the potato. Also, we have salt in the cheese, so this is smooth enough. Now I'm going to go in with the cheese, 1 cup of white cheddar. This is good enough. Let's add about 1/4 cup of cream. And this is going to be soft enough to spread or pipe if I prefer to pipe it. I haven't decided as yet. Beautiful. I'm just going to do some rosettes. Now we're going to fill it in as we go along. And here you have it. This is our final look. I'm going to bake this at 400 degrees Fahrenheit until the top is nice and golden brown, and that will make the fish underneath completely cooked. Our fish pie is done, and I'm going to allow it to cool just for about 2 hours because I don't want it to mash up when I cut it. So I'm gonna allow it to cool for about 2 hours, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna dig in. I'm just gonna get a piece from the corner right here. Just going to place a little bit of lettuce on the side. Green onion. Some red onions. And here we have a beautiful plate of fish pie. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please click that subscription button, the notification bell, and share. Thank you for joining. See you on another good day for other great recipes.